First, I'm gonna show you the craziest scout frag movie you've ever seen. And then, I'm gonna show you exactly how all of it was done. Let's get to it.
Yeah, that's what I would have did. That's the technique. There's nothing he can do about it. He's not even looking.
Our journey to hitting the freakiest scout clips you've ever seen had humble beginnings. It all started in this side tunnel on PL Upward. There's a spot in this corner here where you can get stuck inside the wall. Crouch walk into the wall right around here, then let go of crouch and wiggle into the wall. If you do it right, you will stand up and get stuck in the wall. Once you get stuck in TF2, you can do some wonderful things. Notably, you can shoot rockets at yourself to give yourself a ton of velocity without actually moving. Then, when someone stands on your head, all of that potential energy gets released onto them and sends them absolutely flying. If you want a more detailed explanation of how this works, then check out this video. I found this spot a really long time ago, but I never actually used it for anything, for quite an obvious reason. There's tons of places to get stuck on tons of maps, and they all have massive wide open space around them so that you can fling people in whatever direction they want to go in. But this spot is as claustrophobic as it gets. gets. There's only one real way you could launch a guy out of this room, which really limits the usefulness of the spot. But more importantly, actually managing to stand on the stuck guy's head is really hard because of how low the ceiling is. Like, this is all the space you have to stand on their head while they're stuck. And worst of all, while the stuck player has a ton of potential energy, when you land on their head, the game will try and kick you off of them immediately. And with only this tiny amount of space to stand on, this makes getting onto the stuck guy's head really difficult. But we did find a few ways to do this consistently. Engineer can do it if he builds a dispenser right around here and then C-tap jumps onto the guy's head. And we did try and use this as Engineer, but like... That's awesome. It's just the most mid clip of all time. There's also the problem of where you're actually going to go after you get launched. Strafing to the right is barely possible, but this massive thing here really gets in the way. And strafing to the left is possible, but you have to slow down massively to do it, which makes the clip mid as hell. But this is where Scout comes in. Scout solves all of these problems. Scout can easily double jump onto the stuck player's head. Scout also has the fastest move speed in the game, meaning that he is much more easily able to strafe at higher speeds. Because if you didn't know, your strafe speed is directly tied to your character's move speed, meaning faster classes can literally turn quicker in the air than slower ones. And most importantly of all is the Force of Nature. If you can gain a ton of speed, then the Force of Nature allows you to carry that speed over incredible distances. And it's as easy as looking down and pressing mouse 1. So with all that in mind, this spot finally became not just useful, but actually one of the best spots in the game. There's no other known stuck spots on Upward. This is the only one. So finally finding a use for it on one of the most popular maps in the game is a godsend. And this spot allowed me to hit one of my favorite clips of the entire video. Okay, that was good. That one was really good. That one was fucking sick. This was the first Scout clip I hit, and it created some brainwaves in my head. You know, it really got the gears turning in there. Because there's lots of Scout frag movies out there. Sixes players have been making them for like a decade and a half. But Scout clips have always just been so unbelievably boring. It's just a guy walking around and clicking on people. And he's clicking on people really accurately and doing tons of damage, but he's still just walking around clicking on people. Playing Scout is super fun, but watching him is like watching paint dry. But what if you could make a Scout frag movie that was more out of the box, more akin to the Spy and Pyro frag movies of people hitting completely ridiculous clips? Turns out it is possible, and the Force of Nature really does unlock some insane potential for clip farming. If you manage to get a burst of speed before using the Force of Nature, then your Force of Nature can let you fly across the entire map, and can give you a massive amount of control over the direction you're launched in. So armed with this new knowledge, we went looking for other stuck launch spots that would be really good for sending a Scout to space. And we immediately landed on this spot here on CP Mossrock.
Before, that's why.
If you jump onto... If you stand on this rock here, you can uncrouch into this displacement in the exact same way you did on the upward side tunnel. Now, we want to launch in this direction, because there's a massive amount of space over there to do basically whatever we want with. But if we get a soldier stuck here, he has nothing to shoot off of to give himself velocity in this direction. Not to mention that if you just sat here stuck, you'd probably just, you know, get shot in the face and die. So the workaround for that is to have the stuck guy play as spy. They get stuck in this rock, and then they go invisible. Then a pyro from the other team walks out of spawn and air blasts that guy a billion times. And he can sit there invisible permanently with the cloak and dagger so that nobody knows he's there. The cloak and dagger bugs out really insanely hard when you're stuck with a bunch of speed, with your first person view model constantly looking like you're visible, but enemy players still can't see you. Now, the first thing we did here wasn't actually launching a Scout. Instead, it was bullying random children in casual.
He's trying again, dude. He loves it.
We got a spy stuck here. Then we built a teleporter right next to this edge, facing the spy, so that when someone takes the teleporter and holds W, they get, you know.
Coming through. Noob coming through. He random crit me with the skull cutter. Oh my god, of course.
But after we got bored of cyberbullying random 10-year-olds, we got back to work. At first, we used this launch for Pyro, sending him all the way around this building, hitting this ramp slide here, then absolutely annihilating a guy on the other side of the map. But believe it or not, Scout is even more insane than that, because the force of nature allows him not to just land on people out in the open over here, but to actually fly through this corridor onto last. I spent literally hours trying variations of this, and I could barely make it into last. But if you look backwards and down to carry more speed and gain less height, we found out that you can travel from Blue's first spawn all the way into Red's last spawn, all in the space of about 5 seconds. This is by far my favorite clip in the video. It has so many moving parts and took so much labbing to figure out. Honestly, I'm very curious as to what you guys think. So let me know in the comments what your favorite clip was. But we're not actually done with Mossrock yet, because Mossrock also has a train.
There was like 3 people just standing in the corner.
Okay. You can jump on top of the train, then run along with it to gain a bunch of speed, then jump off and use the force of nature to carry that speed towards people. Now, there's one last stuck spot I want to show you for this video, and it's on Koth Megaton. Now, Megaton is a really wide open map, so we were here originally to try and launch a pyro really far across the map. But then, we were goofing around with these trees that you can get caught behind, and, well, I'm just going to show you the clip, alright? Just see for yourself.
I'm stuck in the tree.
What?
What?
How'd that happen?
I'm stuck. I'm literally stuck. What?
Oh no! Oh no! don't tell me I can. Oh.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh
How did I? What is this fucking evil voodoo magic? I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I'm stuck.
No.
Does this work with other things?
Oh no. Oh good heavens. Oh my. This is like the blessed stuck spot. This is a jug brought down from upon high like Moses with those stone tablets. Turns out the pyro aggressively stomping on my head wasn't actually important. You can just crouch walk into this fence post and get stuck for some reason. The pyro stepping on me was just God's method of showing us his divine knowledge of TF2 jank. And this only works on blue side. Red side's fence posts are completely different. The strat here is to get a blue engineer stuck and have him build a dispenser next to himself, then have a red pyro come along and air blast him for speed. Since if you jump on a guy's head while they're stuck with potential energy, you always get launched super high with no real distance. But if you walk off smoothly onto their head without falling from any height, then jump off of them, you can be sent in any direction you want. So the dispenser is placed to be roughly level with the NG, so you can walk off of it onto his head and then jump off. So we've already had a stuck launch that allows us to travel from one side of the map to the other. So what if a stuck launch could allow me to go from one side of the map to the other and then back again?
I can't find anyone.
What's the call out?
I wish I had a map right now.
Oh my god, that one was crazy. That one was so good. Now, stock launches aren't the only way to give yourself a bunch of speed on Scout. They're definitely the most insane way to do it, but it involves another person, so it's not something you can exactly do yourself. But there are a lot of other ways to do this. Let's start with a simple one. Sentry Surfing. Oh my god, I just got rolled. If an engineer builds a sentry gun in a spot where you can easily get in front of it or on top of it, you can use the gun shooting you to get launched very high into the sky. On other classes, this is pretty simple to do, but on Scout, this can be pretty tricky, because if you're not careful, you sort of just die. But if a sentry is placed in just the right spot, you can surf it for a ton of speed, but strafe out of it before it kills you, which is how I got these clips.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, I got another clip. Now let's talk about the loadout, because I literally never changed it. We've already talked about the force of nature, but why do I constantly use the cleaver and the Boston Basher? The cleaver is just way too good for hitting a clip. It lets you airshot people and it does a ton of damage, making it more likely that the person you land on actually dies. And the melee is also very important. The Boston Basher never leaves the melee slot, because this weapon gives you movement options that are incredibly useful for, you know, playing like a freak. If you swing the Boston Basher and don't hit anything, you hit yourself. If you time a crouch jump as the Boston Basher hits you, you can jump incredibly high. And with Scout's double jump, you can do this twice to gain a massive amount of height. This does a lot of self damage though. Just one single Boston Basher swing does 58 self damage. So you definitely want to use this sparingly, but it can be used to do a lot of crazy things. The simplest thing you can do is stand on a higher place, Boston Basher jump for a bunch of height, then fall and use the force of nature to send you flying towards someone. When you fall from a height and aim backwards and down at an angle like this, all of your falling speed gets converted into forward speed, and the Boston Basher jumps allow you to do this in a ton of places. But there's way more to this weapon than meets the eye, because with a little creativity, this extra jump height can be used to some insane effect. The idea for this one was inspired by a clip I got sent by Igor. You know, the guy who made this completely crazy Frag movie? Yeah, that guy. He sent this clip in my Discord, and I thought it was just so creative. And it really got me thinking. Launch a guy up in the air, then Boston Basher jump up to him and melee him out of the sky. Sounds easy, right? Well, not so much. See, if you're a class like Pyro, you can pop people up into the air and keep them there, basically for free. You look down and air blast and the guy gets popped up into the air. Then you just mouse to him up in the air until you run out of ammo. But Scout can't really do this. If you're on level ground with the person you shoot with the force of nature, they always go flying away from you no matter how you aim your shot. So if you want to launch someone upwards, you need to be below them to make this work, which makes even attempting a clip like this in a real game incredibly situational. I got a couple of kills with this where the guy wasn't really very high off the ground, and it's kinda cool, but it's pretty mid compared to nuking someone out of the sky. I also got some attempts where the guy in the air managed to get away from me before I could reach him. There's also this attempt, which would have been really nice if I'd actually, you know, hit the cleaver at the end. But you know what they say, 90% of gamblers quit before hitting it big, right? So I just kept gambling, and eventually there's also this other aerial I got that is just as cool. I airshot cleaver the guy jumping, and then my Pyro teammate keeps him in the air as I jump up to him and melee him to death. The Boston Basher is also nice, believe it or not, on Passtime maps. Yeah, Passtime, remember that game mode? No, of course you don't, no one does. But the Passtime maps have these launch pads everywhere that send you flying, but at relatively low angles. But with the Boston Basher, you can spam melee yourself to carry all of that speed all the way across the map. I sat and did this for like 5 hours straight one day, and I hit a bunch of clips, a few of which you would have seen in the Frag movie at the start. This edge bug one is just pure unadulterated luck. I wasn't aiming for the edge bug or anything, I just, you know, bless up and then hit the launch pad and God does the rest of the work. There's also these two Boston Basher clips on Swiftwater that look pretty unassuming to the untrained eye. It just looks like the height trick we talked about earlier, where you can turn your height into speed. But no, there's actually crazy tech here that you just don't know about yet. The mapper that made Swiftwater didn't want you to be able to stand on top of these trees, so he put what's called a push trigger on the top of the tree, a big box placed there by the mapper that pushes you in one direction. Now, other maps have push triggers to stop you standing in places too, and usually those push triggers are just tiny little boxes to stop you standing on whatever ledge the box is placed on. But for some reason, the push triggers on Swiftwater are absolutely massive. So in these two clips, I Boston Basher jump into the push trigger at the top of the tree, then the trigger pushes me to give me a bit of extra speed in that direction, which I then use to strafe into the guy I want to kill. Now, these push triggers always push you in the same direction, so you have to jump into it from this side. If you jump into it from any other angle, you lose speed instead of gaining it. So you have to jump into the trigger in this direction for these trees on third, and in this direction for the trees on first. And Swiftwater even has a super secret invisible push trigger that's over here just floating in the middle of nowhere. On older versions of Swiftwater, there used to be a tree here, but on the newer versions, the trees are removed, but the mapper forgot to remove the push trigger, so that still remains. So you can just jump across the cart tracks at this spot and it sends you flying towards the enemy team. It's great. This is useful on quite a few classes outside of Scout too. Pyro can jetpack into them to get more speed than the jetpack is normally meant to give you. And Soldier can do some freaky strafes to hit multiple push triggers at once. Swiftwater has the most push triggers that you can use, but there's also one really funny one on Frontier. Right down here, there's a push trigger to stop you standing on this slope, and it pushes you off with a massive amount of speed. If you fire the Force of Nature just after you hit the second push trigger, you can give yourself a ton of height back up to the top of the map. I learned about this one from a Frag Movie made by Cryo. You should go check it out, it's in the description. Now there's one last thing the Boston Basher can do, and this is by far the most difficult thing to pull off in a real game, and that is the Boston Basher Surf. Time a Boston Basher jump with somebody shooting an explosive at you, and you will go absolutely flying. These are super hard to go for, mostly because the Scout doesn't have enough health to do it. If you're being perma-beamed by a medic, you can go for this quite a lot, but if you're not being healed, this doesn't come up very often. And the two Boston Basher Surf clips in this video are the clips that took by far the longest to hit. If you're not being healed, the strat to go for this is to look for Demo's pipes. As they're rolling around on the floor, you can try and time your Boston Basher jump with the roller exploding, and you will go flying into the sky, and you don't take that much damage for it. But before we look at successful clips, let's look at some of the insanely tragic clips that I missed. Oh! But wait, there's no one anywhere.
Scary bomb from sky.
It was a crit. Oh my god, it's huge. No!
Huge.
I'm so fucking... But these failed attempts just made the successful ones that much sweeter. You can also do this with the Force of Nature too, like I do in this clip. Force of Nature jump right as the soldier shoots me to fly up to him super fast. But this is a lot less useful than doing it with the Boston Basher, since you want your Force of Nature to still be active mid-air so that you can use it to fly towards someone. So now let's look at the miscellaneous clips. There's two clips in the video that are there to represent something slightly unexpected. Cyberbullying. They're about cyberbullying. Scout with 2 bleed weapons is just incredibly evil. You can put 2 bleeds on a light class and then just stand there and watch them die. If you crit with the melee, you can even do that to soldiers, which is what happens to this poor guy. And there's also the final clip, where we were waiting for our casual to pop, and there was only 3 people in our server. So we just like cyberbullied this one random guy until he decided to leave. There's also this clip right here, which I feel like needs a little bit of explaining. In my last TF2 video, I talked about taunt cancelling. One method of doing this is by standing on the enemy's head, then crouching and swinging your melee, and then immediately pressing taunt. And in that video, I said that this only works on melee weapons and doesn't work on spy. Well, it turns out that was wrong. The timing is super precise, way more precise than with a melee. But if you do it just right, you can taunt cancel with hit scan weapons. So this part's in the video to allow me to correct my previous TF2 video. Now, the last unexplained clip is this one, but like, do I need to explain it to you? Surely I don't. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is the one clip that I didn't hit, and that's the run boost clip. If you stand on someone's head while they're walking, you can walk with them and jump off to get a speed boost. This is used super frequently in Counter-Strike movement videos, but isn't really something you see too often in TF2. But you could totally use a run boost with the Force of Nature to fly towards someone. But this is incredibly difficult to do. I got one meager attempt at this after over 100 hours of trying to farm for scout clips. It is the saddest excuse for an attempt I've ever seen. I can barely look at it any longer, honestly. Get it off my screen, please. Get it off. Get it off. But as of right now, this clip remains unhit. If any of you guys want to go and try it out, be my guest. If you do manage it, post it in my Discord server, because I'd love to see it. Now, to end my video about TF2 Scout Tech, I'm going to show you all the clips I managed to hit that didn't make it into the rest of the video. And I hope you enjoy.
4.
There might be
I got hit by a flame. Yeah.
Okay, that one was good. That one. Oh yeah.
Watch out, putters, there's a gun. No, what? How? You've tamed them.
That's just inside. That's just, I don't know. I just have a way with people, you know? Look at him.
Yeah.
What's he up to, mate? What are you up to?
He's on like all the drugs.
What's he up to?
You look at the list of the drugs in Wikipedia.
Ah! Shit! He doesn't even know! That was great! This Pugis is like in his own fucking world.
Bye, suka, blech, bye.
Send me like straight at him, please.
Yeah, what's this?
Oh. What?
What the fuck, Boots?
Chat. He's going in chat. No, wait, chat. Oh.
He died! He died!
Welcome.
Airshot! Putin's airshot! The Avengers are chasing me. I need to
Run.
Dead by Daylight.
Olay.
It's so gorgeous.
It is so gorgeous.
Life is so gorgeous when you are think about it.
That looks good. Or if I didn't have, I'm gonna switch sides.
Edgebug!
Boom.
Edgebug twice in a row! Oh my fucking...
Yeah.
What a way to get your kill stolen. You know the videos of the chickens? You know when you like grab a chicken and you move his body around, his head stays in the same place? It's like the opposite. Thanks for watching.